All right, welcome everybody. My name is Jonathan Banyard. I'm Vice President of Sales at Virtuseis, and this session today is a follow-up to our earlier informal conversation that we had about a little more than a month ago about the GeoConvention 2020 and what does a virtual convention look like. And here we are approximately a month later, a little less than a month later, now that the convention is behind us. And what did it look like? And what's the feedback? So we've got a group here that we're all attending, plus representation from the GeoConvention itself. So how about we go around the table and do some introductions, and I'll start off with you, Kirk.
Great, thanks again for having me and inviting me. I'm Kirk Graham. I'm a business development executive with SoundQI Solutions here in Calgary. And this was my first fully virtual conference, and SoundQI's as well. And we had that exhibitor experience.
Excellent. Denise?
Good morning. Thank you for having me as well, Jonathan. I'm Denise Freeland, long-term tech, geoscience tech and data manager in the oil and gas industry here in Calgary. And I am the president of the Calgary Geoscience Data Managers Society.
Excellent, thank you. And last but by no means least, Dustin.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me. Dustin Menger. I am the director of GeoConvention, and much like Kirk, this was my first virtual event as well.
Excellent. All right. Well, I must admit, for me personally, I really enjoyed the convention. I thought it was excellent. My thoughts are that, you know, this is the new reality, along with many other things in our lives right now. And I could see, you know, us moving forward with a hybrid version going forward. And I think it opens up a whole world of new opportunities as to how we do things differently, much as we are doing in our work lives, with, you know, working at home or partially working in the office at home and doing things differently, and actually, you know, learning to do things in a new way, and we find ourselves even more productive maybe than we were before. So I think that's somewhat of a metaphor for this. But I know this group has a number of questions for you, Dustin. So why don't you kick us off, Kirk? I know you've got some good points that you wanted to bring up and share with us your experience. So yeah, well, let's look into the dark, deep recesses of your mind.
Well, the experience was fantastic. So I'll start out by saying GeoConvention, great job, Dustin and team. And I kind of want to pitch it back to, how did you maintain such high level of great technical content? That is the backbone of any of these experiences. The only reason anyone shows up, I would love to think that they show up to come and visit me at the booth. But I think we know that they come to change their current way of thinking, to find something new. And right now, everyone is looking for that, not just a 5-yard play, to pull out a CFL analogy, but they're looking for that full field touchdown pass. So how were you able to keep people from, I've been to other virtual conferences, papers are being retracted all the time based on their ability to present, but somehow you were able to create a safe environment where it seemed like there was more content than ever before and of a good caliber.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Our virtual GeoConvention 2020 hosted about 600 total technical papers in one form or another, oral or poster presentation. And that was up from our 2019 tally of just over 300. So a significant step up in the quantity of content. A big part of that, or a good chunk of it anyway, was from the once every decade collaboration with GAC, MAC, and IAH CNC. So every 10 years we bring them in to the GeoConvention platform, and they have their content hosted with us as well. So that was a good part of it. But other than that, the retention of the technical talks is largely due to the quality of our session chairs. They were very active in communicating with their presenters and ensuring that everyone was comfortable with what was going on, as well as just the tools I think that we put in place to hopefully allow our presenters an easy opportunity to record themselves. We gave them the tools, the scripts, the step-by-step instructions to make it all happen. And tried to make that process as simple as possible, because you get too complex and people will kind of tap out. You know, they'll hold off a year, they'll do it next year. So we tried to make it just as simple as possible. A lot of direct communication, We were very, very active. Yeah, just ensuring that everyone had a positive, experience with the recording of their content. We also offered our presenters the opportunity to have it just play once, their presentation just go once, right during their allotted time slot, or they could have it on demand. So I think that gave some of our presenters some confidence that their presentation wouldn't be out there forever. It's just hosted that once and then it's deleted from the system. So I think for those that didn't want their content on demand, it was a good option for them.
Yeah, you touched on that, the session chairs, and that was great. I spent some time in the carbon storage sequestration group. Ann Halliday was running that. Really well organized, great questions, because everything changed. It used to be when I was hosting things, you'd say, well, it's the 5-second rule. You ask a question and it takes 5 seconds for somebody to think, should I answer it? How am I going to start my question and then start speaking? Yeah. Well, now you have to type out the whole question and hit send, and you might even go back and edit it. So when you ask, are there any questions for the speaker? That rule, I don't know what it is anymore. But by then, you're kind of coaxing some of that content, additional content from the speaker, grabbing and clearly articulating the question to the speaker for them from the audience. Thought they did a great job in that section. And it was neat to see there were a variety of approaches across the different streams. And I felt that was, again, an example of a stream that did it exceptionally well.
Yeah, we're going to have to get a hold of the Jeopardy sound when you're waiting for the question, right?
Right.
So that that raises another thought that, and that is the talks were fantastic, and I'm wondering, I'd like to table the idea of at least for discussion in this coming year of a potential sort of adjacent hall, let's say, for all of the exhibitors to have structured talks throughout the day that could be recorded, and I think you and I, Kirk, you and I have discussed this slightly, where you had times for your talks, but it can be difficult to sort of manage it sometimes and have people come to your booth. I was in the PPDM forum a little while back, and they had a virtual hall and structured talks, and there was a moderator, and I think that could be quite appealing to many of the exhibitors as to, okay, I want to go see that talk from this group, and so on and so forth.
I'd have to agree with that, Jonathan. Yeah, that would be very helpful.
Like an adjacent
hall. As a vendor, I want to be very respectful of the conference and not steal eyeballs away from other valid learning opportunities. So
that's right.
The GeoConvention on that might help tighten the ship up to amplify the value.
I think so, and from a vendor's perspective, I know I would preserve the recording and share it within my network and use it as marketing collateral, and share it on LinkedIn, YouTube, all those things that we do as vendors, and I think it would be really useful. But it's worth discussing. It may be extraordinarily complex or difficult to administer, but I think it's worth discussing. Denise, I know you had a couple of questions also.
I did. First of all, I'd like to say how much I enjoyed the conference. It was very well done. I was very impressed. I got certainly a lot out of it. And one of the things that I feel really helps is that we have some on-demand talks until the end of October. Mm-hmm. So for those of us who had multiple talks we wanted to see, now we can go back and see those. Yep, so absolutely. Good job. That was awesome. I think my question was probably a little bit more about the social aspect of it. I felt that we weren't really moderated in the social aspect of it. And so, the sessions that I attended didn't work out quite as well. What would you do differently, Dustin, next time?
Sure. Yeah, that's a good question, and I think there's a lot that we learned through the process of hosting this first virtual event. I would say I agree with you. I think there's a couple key things that I would really focus on for a future virtual event. One of which being that networking piece for sure. It's clear from the feedback that we received in our post-event survey, and it's clear just in speaking to people that that's something that our delegates, our exhibitors, they really crave is that networking piece. So this last year, we attempted to host a virtual code break and some kind of virtual lock room things. Didn't really get a lot of uptake on that. I suspect it's probably because it's a long day already. So when you host these subsequent networking events, people are already kind of tired. They've been looking at their screen for perhaps 6 hours. So they didn't really take off. We had a few networking halls that were just Zoom calls, just kind of like this, where people could all kind of go in and have a conversation. But through this platform, I found that, you either have one person carrying the whole conversation, and then the others are kind of just bystanders. So it's kind of tough in that regard. The networking part within the platform itself, I think I would have explained better. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. There was, 5 different group rooms where people could go after a session and debrief and have a larger conversation about what they just heard. I don't know that was utilized to the fullest extent. And I think, if we were to do it again, we'd really promote that better. And maybe, instead of calling it breakout room 1, you call it induced seismicity follow-up session or something like that. Yeah. So you get some more people going into that. So I completely agree. I think the networking piece is very, very difficult to replicate in a virtual event. But there's things that we can do, and there's things that we learned. And if we are to host a virtual event again, there's things that we'll improve upon.
That's true. Go ahead, Kirk. Yeah, it made me think of those breakout rooms and just playing to that strength of the technical depth that you have, in that birds of a feather stick together. And I think of those conferences and I look at those round tables, whether it's where you're eating or wherever, where people sit around and they see each other. And that comes back to social group size. 4 is our ideal. This is the ideal human social group. 8, that's interesting because you can break into 2 groups of 4 and you can kind of control it. And beyond that, there are, different breakpoints on how you structure things, from seminar to lecture. So it'd be really compelling to see if we can break people into, so we're advanced seismic analysis and interpretation in QI Pro software. So if we were thinking of the seismic space, a rock physics table, a AVO table, I have trouble with a complex lithology and I'm trying to map pore pressure, something along those lines, where people with those problems sit together in those little think tanks, come up with a discussion and present back in.
That's a great idea.
I think something like that may be able to
I like that too.
springboard off into off of the excellence we already have too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know. I mean, the truth of the matter is that today a lot of the social fabric of business has fundamentally changed, and when you spend time with colleagues or customers and vendors, and it's that the fostering of those business relationships has fundamentally changed, and we have to find ways to do it in different forms. And the social fabric of an event at the end of the day in the convention, I mean, truthfully, it's drinking on your own at home, which is pretty sad. So I think over the coming year, I think that I know we'll all be putting our heads to it. So I think there'll be some other ideas that pop up, and I'm looking forward to some creative ideas. Kirk, I know you had a couple more questions. Do you want to share those with us?
Well, I've got a hot burning one, which is how did you do on the international? Because I was chatting with folks in Nigeria that were excited to attend, that all on, I think 3 or 4 continents that we were chatting with that thought GeoCon was the right pick for them this year. Did you get the data back yet to see if there was any increase there? What other bonuses did you gain from that virtual conference?
Yeah, that's a really good question. In fact, I had similar conversations with folks during the networking evenings. One fellow from Belgium and a nice young lady from Egypt. And they both commented that they would not otherwise have been able to attend GeoConvention unless it was hosted virtually. Overall, on an average year, GeoConvention will see about 10% of our attendee population from outside of Canada. This year we had 20% from outside of Canada. Wow. So a significant increase percentage-wise of folks that were able to attend that probably wouldn't have otherwise been able to join us. So that was really, really cool. Some really good, takeaways. People are really excited, I think, now about making GeoConvention bigger and broader And we have our baseline now, and how do we grow it geographically? How do we grow the content side? Because now we have the tools available to us, and we've learned a lot of how to apply those tools. So yeah, pretty excited at those results for sure.
So the experience that the committee has with this now, I think that's valuable experience that you could share with similar organizations like ours around the world, where you can collaborate with other societies around the world and invite them more effectively than we've been able to do in the past. And I'm thinking, I'm hopeful for next year that the society will reach out to similar sort of organizations around the globe to attract more people to come to our conventions. And the reverse is also true. There's the opportunity now for me to attend the EAG wherever it is in Europe this next year. Then yeah, all of a sudden that becomes a lot more approachable. I think that's extraordinarily exciting. I also think that there may be a role for either provincial or federal government support from some of the trade offices to help with the society there too, to open some of those doors in other jurisdictions, so we can get more traction to people come to our convention.
Yes.
Denise, did you have another question?
I do have a question. So overall, was attendance or people that said they were going to attend, was it up or down compared to last year? And what about your exhibitors? Did you get a good response from that?
Yeah, so I'll take the first question first. The attendance year over year was down, but the biggest decrease that we saw was in, when we have a live event, we give away the free exhibit floor only passes. And we did that again this year. Exhibitors had the opportunity to distribute free passes, but the uptake wasn't nearly as much as we do or had for a live conference. Live conference, there's coffee on the floor, there's food, it really attracts people to come down to the convention center. And that was our biggest drop by far. And that kind of is what brought all of our numbers down.
Right.
The delegate count was relatively flat, or comparatively flat anyway. So that was encouraging. People still came for the technical content, but yeah, we just did not see the attendance on the, from the free passes anyway. Right. The exhibitor side, we are quite fortunate to have an understanding group who has been with us for a very long time. They rolled with everything as it was thrown at them. They embraced the opportunity to present virtually. You saw a lot of animated banners, you saw videos going on. A lot of companies had the join live function. So you can kind of click on that to see somebody in real time and ask some questions or have conversation that way. So I would say, on the exhibitor side, there's a lot, again, that we could do there to improve the experience. But for the most part, I would say that the exhibitors were very understanding of the new times and kind of rolling with the virtual platform and embracing the opportunities that it provided. So I would overall just say thank you to the exhibitors for sticking with us and being, so diligent in providing good content for the conference.
It's definitely the way, from an exhibitor's perspective, it's definitely the way forward. And I think that, we actually end up doing more and having a greater presence, I think, even though that we're not, in a physical sense. So I think it's absolutely fantastic. Let's do one more question each, and then we'll wrap this up to I don't want it to go too long. And Kirk, can we go back to you? I know you've got some more stuff that you wanted to share.
Well, I thought if this is one of the last ones, I'm going to talk about the future. Next year, if we are in a booth and somebody joins live, are they going to be in a booth on a screen? Because it'll be a hybrid of the, just as now I've learned the blending of the physical to the virtual. I pulled out my physical banner for the virtual experience. Yeah. So how does that blend next year? Yeah. Is a wildly exciting opportunity, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. We talk about the doors that a virtual event has opened for us, and we certainly don't want to take that away. We don't want to necessarily go back to the way things always had been, because we've learned a lot and we've expanded our presence. What a hybrid event looks like is very exciting to me as well. I think on the content side, certainly you can have a in-person conference, but maybe you're recording the content as you go, and then you host it for some on-demand access later on, or right after the event rather, where people from all over the world can still dial in. Maybe you have the live event happening at the same time as the virtual event is happening. such that everyone's kind of connected in real time. So there's so many cool opportunities that exist in blending the two that I think that we need to take advantage of.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. We've talked about having a live podcast at our physical booth before this change happened.
Mhm.
And I could see, you know, that manifesting itself, that you could do, you could do a version of this, you know, in your booth and broadcast it live. I think there's a whole world of new ideas that we can bring to the table and do it differently. I think that's extraordinarily exciting.
Yes.
Yeah. Denise.
I do have one more question. Have you given any thought, Dustin? So you have this program and you have presenters who've agreed to have this on-demand presentations for the participants up until the end of October. Did you ever think of promoting it, say 1 or 2 day or however many days, to people who didn't originally weren't able to sign up for the conference, but that they could pay and come to the talks that are on demand for a couple of days? Did that ever, is that something you would consider?
Sure. Yeah, I think that's a perfect plug for the fact that we do have on-demand access registration available. So you know, anyone who wasn't able to check out the live content was able to purchase a pass to go check out all the content that's on demand. So yeah, one of the beauties with having it in this format and having the content on demand is yeah, not only do you just target that live audience during those 3 days of live event, but now you have an additional group that couldn't attend the 3 days, but can still attend on the on-demand.
So is that something that is available right now? I wasn't aware of that.
It is, yeah. It sure is. Just on our website, there's a link to sign up. It's available for anyone who wasn't able to do the live show.
Oh, that's excellent. Okay.
Fantastic.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Perfect plug. Well done. Well done.
Okay, well, listen, why don't we wrap this up for now? And thank you, Dustin, for allowing us to pepper you with questions and being brave enough.
My pleasure.
And Kirk and Denise, thank you so much for your time today. And yeah, we'll do this again, and let's see where it takes us. Okay.
Sounds really
Thank
good.
you,
Thank you for the
Everybody,
opportunity.
stay safe. Thank you.
Bye-bye.